Hey everyone, this is Michael Cole, VP of Marketing at Everflow. And today we're going to be diving into the secrets of driving insurance leads with Amanda and Nasser from Phonexa and sort of some context behind this. So lead generation, like that's a huge space and there's so many different parts of it, and doing it right is a challenging thing to understand. And one of the best ways to understand how to be successful is to drill into something very specific and then break down all of the tactics and tips that make it actually successful. So I'm really honored to have both of you here, so you can sort of go through with the intimate view of how to be successful in the insurance lead space. So first off, just to kick it off, can you both give a quick introductions for yourselves?
Absolutely. So I'm Amanda Farris. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships at Phonexa. So a little bit of background in the space. I've been in the space for about 9 years on the performance analytics side, doing all the tracking and all the fun stuff that we all, pride ourselves on in this industry, and came over to Phonexa team to help them build out a lot of the partnership integration programs, referral partnership programs, and consultancy and agency firm, co-branding initiatives, if you will.
Nice to be here. Thank you for presenting Phonexa with this forum and Everflow. My name is Nasser Aftab. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Phonexa. I've been in this space for a little over 4 years. Again, as Amanda specified, diving into the analytics and optimization side of the business, working with lead generators, affiliate networks, and brands to create a lead ecosystem that is designed to increase ROI and create the types of sales portfolios that meet carriers' lifetime value criteria. So I'm very happy to be here and excited to join in this conversation today.
Awesome, sounds great. And I think when you mention carriers and stuff, I think the best place to start is just to give like a quick rundown of all the major players in the insurance space. How does it go from a user who wants to sign up for insurance all the way to someone buying that insurance lead? Like, who's all involved there?
Right. So that process can look like many different phases depending on kind of what the user experience is. So I think the most typical experience that we're used to in this space is the form fill. So, a user goes to a website, they fill out a form with what they're interested in and their information, and that is then passed along to either specific carriers or insurance agents, and they reach out directly. But in the evolution of our lead gen space, we see that now as direct phone calls as well, where they're calling into a DID or to a phone number, and being directly connected to an agent. So utilizing different technology pieces in the middle with that tech stack for us allows them to, actually do like data appends and lookups and things like that. So when the user's on the phone with the agent or when that lead is passed through, all of the relative information to that user is actually passed along with them. So they're not having to recap and go through everything, from an agent perspective. They have that all pulled up in front of them and they can really dive into what it is that they're looking to purchase or what they're looking to utilize with that specific company.
Yep.
When you say carrier, what do you mean by that?
For an insurance carrier. So that can be, the all states, or if it's auto life or, whatever it might be, it's the larger brands that might be doing that. And it can be the intermediaries as well. So those mid-market guys who might be the in-between who are selling to those larger brands as well, or even the, independent insurance agents themselves.
So when you say sell in between, like there's some like smaller insurance companies that are then selling it again to a bigger insurance company?
They just may not be able to facilitate the policy, right? It might be something out of their scope. So instead of just letting that lead kind of fall by the wayside or, let it, die as it would, they would actually pass that along to someone who can provide them those services. And a lot of times they can do that through a technology platform that would allow them to like bid that out or even just facilitate that to a larger carrier that has already specified that they can fulfill those needs.
Awesome.
Yep, I think what we're really talking about here is, front-end marketing, bridging the gap between those initiatives and the back end fulfillment side of the sales piece of the business, right? So, Amanda brought up some really good points about, where the inceptions of the lead journeys begin. They can come in multiple different forms, push notifications through apps, to email marketing, to SMS marketing, to, search engine optimization with, websites, PPC with specific keywords being bidded on, and then, tapping into other components of marketing that are facilitated through third-party aggregators. There is, typically 2 lines of lead flows that come into play. One of which we just spoke about, which is the monetization of decline traffic, right?
What do you mean by decline traffic?
Yeah, so for instance, Phonexa predominantly sits on the front end of all these marketing initiatives, right? And as the leads come in, whether we're using data appends, whether we're pinging internal databases to understand, is this a consumer already with Allstate, for instance? And the lead path will eventually end up going to an Allstate call center, or a CRM tool that's represented by a specific Allstate agent that can cover that region of where that consumer lies. What happens is more than likely we'll sit on the front end of that journey. We will mix first party data with third party data to create a profile on that consumer, where in real time these carriers will have decisioning logic built in, where they want to accept that lead and try to work that lead and turn that into an underwritten policy. Or, is there another lead path where potentially, let's just say it's a call that comes into a call center, they do some more pre-qualification and identify, for instance, if it's an auto insurance, has this person had a DWI in the past 3 years? So the answer is yes. Set the expectation, we cannot fulfill your needs with providing you with a quote, but, if you'd like us to, we could provide you with an auto insurance carrier within your region that covers your region, that is more of a non-standard policy that can fulfill a quote for you. So, it really becomes very nuanced, because there's just so many different marketing channels that leads can come in, so many different ways to do data append and track, so many different ways to identify client lifetime value in real time, and then, present that lead accordingly to the proper journey that fits that consumer's need, as well as fits the profile that, more than likely or not, these carriers understand, these sets of profiles are our bread and butter, and these types of policies back out properly for us. They understand, with that type of profile, they tend to retain these clients for X amount of years, so that they can attribute a revenue model, that's based off of retention. So there's a lot that comes into play here, and technology is really the backbone of ensuring that these initiatives are sound, and that really are developed properly. So it creates the ecosystem that will result in more revenue for these carriers.
Awesome. And I think that that's one of the most exciting things of having you both here, is that you really have the view into what is actually working, because you need to have a platform for handling all of these different complex parts, from all the different traffic sources to who actually can, at the end of the day, buy that lead and is the right fit for them. That's a lot of complexity, and being able to see that entire flow is really valuable. So from your experiences, where are you seeing sort of like the biggest opportunities here? If you were starting off tomorrow and you want to get involved in insurance, where would you recommend they look into learning more about it?
Yeah, that's a great question. May I take that, Amanda?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so what we're really talking about here is, if I was going to start a company, a lead generation based company, how would I go about it, and what would that look like, right? So as much as there's complexities within all of those decision-making processes that you're taking as a company, there's also a 60,000 foot view that you have to take. And really what it comes down to is bridging the gap between marketing and sales, right? And what comes in between that. So I think it starts off with itemizing and hiring an all-star team. Predominantly, the pieces of those teams are as follows: an SEO guru, evangelist, a PPC guru, an affiliate team that understands how to leverage technology to identify lead quality, so that they can then transition those leads over to the demand side of the business that they've built, that are the insurance agencies, carriers, and individual agents that are buying these leads. And then moreover, having a dedicated team to manage that side of the business, the demand side of the business, the advertiser side of the business, where they're getting these carriers, these agencies buy-in to want to increase their spend with the leads that they're facilitating. So, when that comes into play, it really comes back to the middle of the road of the tech stack, where you really need to leverage technology to mitigate lead quality, to have a nuanced approach on a campaign level, which represents really the buying habits of the carrier, that also coincides with basically that campaign is speaking to these are the sets that represent the lifetime value criteria that we're looking to buy, right, of each individual consumer that's filling out these forms, that's calling in these phone numbers, that's being redirected through click tracking from banner ads. So that's where I would start, which would be my all-star team. And then secondary to that, giving my all-star team the tools and resources available in order to accomplish our goals, right? And then, of course, there's that biz dev side of the business, going back to the demand side, being able to leverage everything that you've built as a company to entice direct advertisers to want to buy from you, carriers, agencies to want to buy from you.
What's the difference between carriers and agencies in this situation? What is the agency doing in that role?
Great question. So agencies are licensed agents, right, that are comprised of a whole organization, where instead of working directly for the carrier, that brand, which would be like a State Farm or Allstate, they have actually access to underwrite policies for multiple carriers. And it could be, a whole different set of insurance policies, right? Auto, life, health. And then, so traditionally, agencies are more of a hybrid company that has a lead generation side of the business, that is doing their own marketing and trying to send these leads to independent agents that can underwrite policies from different carriers and different types of insurance products. But they also have the ability to have their own in-house team that are not independent agents, that are actually underwriting policies from all these various carriers. Whereas the carriers are just, that brand. They are facilitating policies direct from Allstate, direct from a State Farm. So that's the differentiation between the two.
And just for a sense of things, what is if you have like a legitly good qualified lead, what kind of payouts are you looking at as a range?
Yeah, so that's a really hard question to answer. What I can tell you is this, coming from the Phonexa side, which I'm biased, we're talking to a lot of companies, whether they're agents or agencies, that, they've understood for a long time that they want to acquire new technology in order to accomplish their end game goal. But they've been slow to that game as well, right? They have some legacy technology that they would like, for instance, Phonexa to seamlessly work into. But at the end of the day, the reason why they're choosing a Phonexa or an Everflow is because there's ways of mixing first-party data, third-party data to create that consumer profile in real time, right? And then being able to create decisioning logic based off of that, whether it's revenue-based or relationship-based. So when it comes from the revenue side of the business, the more data append, the more aggregated data that you can compile on a consumer, your greater likelihood to sell leads, right? So, carriers, for instance, will come to the table and work with an affiliate network or a lead generator and say, okay, this is my filter criteria. I'll buy in these states. I'll buy, if they answer this question this way and this question that way, and I'm willing to pay $45 for that call lead, right? And vice versa, they can diversify their buying strategies by, relinquishing their filter criteria a little bit more. But the value is you're able to get that lead for much less, let's just say $10. So, that is really the ecosystem that has been forever built within the lead generation space. And I think where Phonexa has implemented itself into the equation and become an innovator is take that static buying strategy and implement dynamic bidding opportunities, leveraging technology based off of a slew of different data points, to basically the end result is being able to bid differently on different times of the day based off of how many agents are available in your call center, what the criteria that was filled out throughout the IVR journey or through the form journey. So it really does, it's a machine gun answer, that's kind of stretched across the entire ecosystem. To answer your question, specifically, I've seen leads sell anywhere from $5 to $50, right? Depending on the filter criteria. So everything is always tied back to that, who is this client? Does this client fit our lifetime value criteria? And if such, what am I willing to spend? And if not, what am I willing to spend?
Yeah, that's really awesome. I think that what you answered is the exact thing that I was hoping to learn, which is really at the end of the day, if you're involved with insurance, the quality of the lead and the data around the lead make a huge difference for how much money you make from each of those leads. And the ability to take that data and maybe having your own special sauce for channels where you get a lot of different data sources, those are all ways that you can sort of like break out from the competition and make a lot more money per lead. So that's really interesting. And the other thing I just want to say is that I think that the whole lead space is fascinating because there's the CPA world where people are paying upfront, and there's a lead world where they're submitting data. And with submitting data, they don't have to put their money in front, which means that you can generate leads much easier than you can get someone to pay stuff up front.
Yep.
But at the same time, like, because it's easy, like there's a lot more fraud, there's a lot more challenges there. So everything is about all the extra stuff you're doing on top of that lead. That means that a carrier agency can really trust that you're a partner that they can rely on as their future insurance customers.
Yeah, and just to dive in a little bit deeper, right? We at Phonexa, we're thought matter experts, right? And we try to disseminate that type of content across multiple different types of channels. One of which is our website and blogs, right? And knowing that our platform has a deep breadth reach, being able to do all these different types of lead flows and marketing methods, there's a lot for us to cover. So there's that CPL world that we're talking about, the cost per lead, where you're defining whether it's in a dynamic bidding style or a static, a buying strategy. You're paying per lead, right? I think any company that is trying to diversify their approach should interweave different marketing methods, such as like a click tracking, right? We wrote a great blog about, brand affinity and trying to get volume and not, paying for it, meaning lead traffic volume, right? So if you have a website and, you're marketing on specific banners and whatnot, it's a very smart strategy to incorporate some method of click tracking where they're being redirected to your website. And then you can quantify how many of those leads were actually filling out forms, right? And then drive that back to, the origination of that lead, where that marketing channel was, what website, what banner ad, or, what third-party aggregator was shipping that traffic over to your website, so that you can start understanding on the front end, where is all the lead quality coming from? On the back end, tying that into how many policies are we underwriting down to a marketing channel level? And then so, CMOs can work with, VP of sales, SVP of sales to really like bridge the gap between sales and marketing so that, the CMO knows where to spend their marketing budget, so that they're strategically signing more policies. So there's a lot here to discuss and unpack, and it's a really fun time for Phonexa to spend time with Everflow to do so, especially with the way things are going in the market, because like I said before, it's awesome that you have in the insurance space carriers and agents wanting to buy leads, right? It's a low barrier to entry to get somebody to get their buy-in to buy leads from you. However, the hard part is scaling that and mitigating pieces like fraud or lead quality so that you can continuously get them to raise their budget, plateau their budget, or just keep buying leads from you, because anyone can sell leads for 3 months, but what happens after those 3 months? And what technology are you leveraging to, be a game changer for you in your approach so that you can increase your revenue?
Yeah, those are really good points. And kind of on that topic, Amanda, what have you been seeing as like the greatest challenges for your customers?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things I think that are relevant to that particular question. So, it can be anything from kind of what Nasser was talking about, like fraud mitigation. So a large component of the lead gen space is being able to mitigate, fake information. And so using a platform like ours and being able to do data append and validations in real time is something that really helps with that. But, being able to pick out the bad leads and not, having to deal with scrubs or false data, that's a big problem that I think a lot of people deal with, especially in the insurance vertical.
How does it work? Where is it checking the data?
Absolutely.
Valid.
Yeah, so within our platform, we actually do third-party API lookups through a variety of different services. So if they have something in mind that they want to use, we can obviously build that out. It can be like a Bright Verify, or even hitting up some of the credit bureaus. It really depends on what pieces of information they want to validate. But we have direct APIs built in, just depending on what those pieces of information can be. It could be first name, last name, SSN, phone number, address. All those types of pieces of information can be validated in real time before the lead is actually posted out. So they're not having to deal with returns or, fake information, or, calling someone that doesn't want to be called, those types of things. I think that another component of that too is finding buyer availability. So utilizing the technology to be able to find appropriate buyers. So having those filter sets set up, making sure that there's someone that can actually take that lead in real time, because the name of the game is timing, right? Like, these are interested parties. They want to be spoken to now. And if you even wait a day or two, they might go and fill out something else, or, might go to another carrier agency. So having your buyer network set up and being able to ping those buyers in real time is a big piece of it as well. I think that's a challenge for a lot of people who are still trying to do it manually at the end of the day. And, being competitive in this space, that's going to be a big piece of it. And another thing, especially in the insurance space, is kind of finding a technology that can integrate with some of the more antiquated systems. So especially in the insurance vertical, a lot of people are still working on like blue screen, C++, you name it, you know what I mean? Like, it's quite interesting when you get into the nitty gritty of it all. But being able to upgrade those systems, or being able to integrate those systems with some of the larger companies that haven't quite graduated to the next level of technology stack, that's a big piece for them, is, being able to upgrade and utilize the new tools that are out there, because that's what makes them competitive at the end of the day. And not just in the lead selling, but also if they're, writing policies, or if they're, accepting data, whatever it might be. So it's kind of multi-pronged, but those are the things that I see the most on my side, are kind of those three features, in terms of like the biggest issues, I would say, right now. And I think regulation has to do with that too. And Nasser might be able to speak a little bit to that as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Amanda. Amanda and I are very used to talking to, enterprise clients, and really getting in depth with, the needs of our clients, because at the end of the day, it's about a problem being solved, right? And, with enterprise clients, there's multiple different stakeholders and multiple different departments that have multiple different problems that need to be solved, right? So that just ties back to the capabilities of any technology stack that you're building. Like Amanda said, there's always a piece of the tech stack that's a little bit more legacy. So there needs to be that nimble, elastic customization approach, which is actually at Phonexa what we hang our hat on, right? Because at the end of the day, companies across the board, if we can't facilitate a solution to a problem, we're dead in the water, right? And maybe so are they if they can't find one. So, that comes in multiple different forms, right? Traditionally speaking, carriers have a really good understanding of what they want to accomplish. They just don't know how to. So they need a subject matter expert to kind of walk them through that journey. So usually, that's front end and back end stuff, right? So on the front end, just like Amanda spoke about, all these third-party database lookups, right? So usually that approach is what we call in our industry a waterfall. where it's a waterfall approach where you're creating an and or situation based off of each lookup. And it's funny, you know, being a consumer before I got into the lead generation space, I had no idea this kind of stuff was happening in real time as I was on the phone, for instance. So, you know, when you're going through an IVR, you know,
What's an
already
IVR?
they have the IVR through a phone call, right? You know, there's an intro, brand affinity approach to it where they're saying, you know, who the carrier is and they're the leader in the space and what have you. And then what they'll do is they'll take my phone number, they'll take the zip code that I entered through the IVR, and I'm already on the third question, but they've already pinged their internal database to understand, have I been a client before? And if so, you know, what did that relationship look like? Did I leave? Did I have a DWI, right? So that's one piece of the puzzle. Then the second one is, you know, pinging another database to understand, am I fraud, right? Or have I been in litigation for TCPA before? And then creating a workflow around that, because if I, you know, was in a TCPA litigation, I'm sure they're not going to want to talk to me or reach out to me, right? So creating some type of like hang up reject message that doesn't hurt the consumer brand, that doesn't hurt the consumer journey, and safeguards them to even potentially transition that off into a sale where they're capturing some type of trusted form certificate, right? Through like maybe a web lead. And then going down through the rest of the journey, compiling all these data sets and then creating decisioning logic based off of that. And it's usually an and or if sequence. So traditionally speaking, I think that's where the conversations always happen. And then secondary to that is, okay, you know, my head of call center, we're using a CRM tool, and this CRM tool doesn't comport profile data, consumer profile data, under one historical profile. Every time this consumer calls in, it's creating a different profile, right? And that's a problem for us because we have multiple agents trying to work it. We don't know, you know, how to create the attribution model of, you know, where the lead came from versus if we sold a policy, who do we pay out? All these different things, right? And that's usually more where you're working with antiquated systems like a PBX. Don't want to name any names, but you know, there's a lot out there. So, you know, being able to figure out in a system how to configure features that will just solidify that journey. So the end result is now the carrier understands lead quality down to the marketing channel level. They're collecting all the data points and they have all the decisioning logic refined so that they're getting the leads that they want, that they can underwrite more policies and potentially spend less money doing so. And then on the back end, the sales and fulfillment side, having that all squared away properly so that we don't have all those additional profiles and we don't have all those, you know, broken attribution models that we can't, you know, connect the dots to. You know, and then there's another piece, right? And I always try to think outside the box. I know Amanda does as well. There's other sides of the business in an insurance carrier world besides, you know, the lead generation world and the marketing world, right? There's like claims and stuff like that. So, you know, we've gone to a lot of insurance conferences and found new innovative ways that have also impacted those pieces of the business, where, you know, by leveraging third-party data, first-party data, creating all these intricate lead flows, can also impact your retention of your clients through the claims processes, right? So there's a lot to unpack. You know, the more stakeholders in the business, the more there's to talk about, the more sign off there is. But at the end of the day, if you can have those conversations and be supported by resources that are diversified, such as like a Phonexa technology, it does make it more of a fun engagement and a more fulfilling engagement because you're solving problems, you know. So that was a lot, but you know, I hope you you know, got a lot out of it as well.
Yeah, just to unpack some of it. I always think of it from the ad network perspective, and I think it's really helpful to hear like the amount of validations that go through on the actual call itself before it's like connected to the representative and valued of like how much it's worth bidding for your call. Like that's super interesting because if you're on the ad network side and you're driving the traffic, the more you understand the final value to the end customer who's buying from you, who's the lead buyer, like you are able to make better decisions about how you manage your own traffic. And sort of related to that, in like the very early day, like if I'm launching an affiliate network tomorrow or ad network tomorrow to drive insurance leads, how do I get my first couple buyers? Where would you recommend someone start to find the buyer side? Say if they know how to drive the traffic, how do they find the buyers?
That's a great question. I would like to defer to Amanda because I was just speaking a lot. So Amanda,
You're fine. Absolutely. Yeah, I think what a really great place to start are always, as we all know, is the conferences, right? So the leads cons, lead gen worlds, things like that. Those people are going to find lead sources, right? So if you are now generating leads, you know that you're generating good quality and you're looking for buyer networks. Those are great places to meet the direct advertisers, as well as, the different networks if you want to sell in that capacity, right? And kind of what, Nasser was saying is it's, you can hook up with the right people, but the more that you can validate and prove like your attribution models, where your data is coming from, how good it is, the better you'll be able to sell yourself to those buyers, right? And maybe even to the direct agents or agencies. So I think conferences are a great way to start. And really the networking piece comes into this. And this is where it's like really connecting with every single person that you probably possibly can. Skype, LinkedIn is a great source as well. Just finding those people who are actively seeking new sources, and then sussing those out as you start having those conversations about what it is that they're looking for. I think those are great places to start, but I always recommend people go to conferences because you can accomplish so much more face-to-face in those spaces through dinners or even just on the show floor than you can through, multiple emails that take weeks and weeks and weeks, right? So that's what I tell new people to the space. I'm like, really just go to a show, even if it's just attending, and really walk the floor and start to kind of understand what they're looking for as well, because that'll give you a better idea of how to kind of pivot your marketing capabilities or what you're looking to do based on what they're actually looking for. Because again, it's an amorphic industry. So what they're looking to do will also change month to month, if not every 6 months or a year or so in our space. So really just staying up to date with what the buyers are looking for today, and making sure that you're up to date in terms of what you're selling. So
yeah, because really what we're talking about is like, what's our business development, go-to-market strategy, right? And it's diversified. I think a huge component, I think Amanda's spot on. I think a huge component of it is attending these shows, because the level of investment and the return on investment is a great percentage in your favor. Business is all about relationships, and what better way to convey all the quality that you can bring to the table, but in person, right? Secondary to that, going back to what you're saying, because we're kind of like, almost peering towards the, what does the ecosystem look before and now after, because we are in the after. The nice thing to know is, number one, carriers are open to buying leads. They're open to trying out new sources. So in starting a new company, feel confident in being able to go direct to that advertiser, right? And leverage forums such as a leads con or, an affiliate summit to do so. Secondary to that, to hit the ground running fast, right? It's all about speed to contact as well. At the end of the day, I'm going to reach out to top affiliate networks that already have that demand side built out on a ping tree, where I can just plug in, be more of a plug and play model, where I'm okay with, getting an 80% rev share opposed to 100% rev share, so that I can just start building revenue. So I do think, it's nice to know that getting, for instance, into the insurance lead selling world, you're going to have direct advertisers open, but it's also important to understand, there's a speed to contact aspect to it, and you should be finding those affiliate networks that already have those relationships built, already have that buy-in, already are utilizing technology to mitigate lead quality, to just, plug and play and make some money.
100%.
Yeah, I think that is definitely like both great advice and something that's really interesting about the whole lead world. Can you talk a little bit about sort of the whole, like, having this bitter ecosystem where when you generate a lead, you can have it go through an entire thing where like the carriers get first shot, or maybe for this one, it's not qualified for the carrier, so the ad networks have their shot. Can you talk a little bit about that ecosystem and how the bidding works?
Yeah, absolutely. What we're talking about is the evolutionary scale of lead generation, which is really cool, like the Darwin approach, right? So, we have ping tree technology, right? And we have these static campaigns that represent the lifetime value criteria that compared to a price that a carrier wants to buy. And there is a line of delineation, priority speaking, 1 to, let's just say 10 campaigns, right? So the name of the game is, how do I become number one, right? Usually it's more ad spend. But at the end of the day, there are other ways to do it. It could be relationship based as well. So that's what we call a static buying environment. So, in the Darwin evolutionary scale, the second stage was, ping tree technology, but giving a dynamic bidding approach, where carriers, based off of agent availability, data points that are being sent off, time of the day, how much volume is hitting the call center at that given time, you can actually get 2 data points in real time, decide yes or no, and set a bid price. So, the networks and the lead generation companies love it, because now they've created this ping tree environment where there's competition, and, competition breeds success, right? So now, you can pull reports from Phonexa, for instance, to show, hey, if you were just bidding X amount dollars higher, making me more money, you can get X amount more leads. And these leads, and specifically, fit your filter criteria, your lifetime value criteria. So you guys were missing out, right? So the third step of the evolutionary scale is, which Phonexa, from my understanding, is the innovator in this third level phase of the Darwinism of lead generation, ping post 2.0, right? Being able to take that same back end dynamic bidding style ping post environment that's located on the ping tree, and putting it on the front end. And the reason why there's a need to do this is because now I think about 80% of all lead generators in this space are actually aggregating data from somewhere else, from another publisher or whatnot, right? So what's really happening is, lead is being generated from point A. It hits the affiliate network. The affiliate network wants to be able to bid based off of all that criteria, but they want to make sure that they're bidding low enough to get it, but not high enough where they can't sell it for a certain price point. So basically being able to, bid $12 for a lead and sell it for 20 to a carrier, right? So, in essence, that's what Ping Post 2.0 is. And then there's 5 different types of styles, right? 5 different types of lead flows within that Ping Post 2.0. So that's where the industry is going. And we're peering our head in as the innovator. And we're really excited about this journey because, we've been able to acquire clients that are affiliate networks and raise their EPL by 45%, just because of the technology that they're leveraging within our system, within our software. So, going back to, the Darwinism piece to it, it's just amazing to see in, I would say, about 5-6 years, how the evolution of adopting technology has really helped change the game for carriers to get the leads that they want, to underwrite more policies, and for affiliate networks and lead generators to make more money doing so.
That's awesome. And there's a lot to think about there. And I think that just to start off, like, the coolest thing about that is the fact that it's really, really easy to get started driving insurance leads in this situation, because you can always just start sending traffic and sell it straight to the networks. Networks are always easy to work with because they're all about scale plays. So you can just start making money right away. And as you add more and more of your own direct advertisers, your own carriers, then they can start bidding in that tree competition. And basically you're making more money at that point as you get these more direct carriers, but you never have to worry that you're not going to be able to sell the lead as long as it's like a good lead. Yep. So that's super cool. And then you can go the next scale above that, where you're buying other people's leads, where that they're undervaluing their lead, and use your system to both find cheap leads that are a good fit for your direct carrier deals or whoever, and then sell those directly to the carrier. So
exactly.
I mean, that's awesome. Can you talk a little bit more about how that implementation usually works, where of that sort of like middleman affiliate network where they're setting bids on one side and then it's purchasing, like a little bit more of the mechanics of that?
Yeah, sure. So basically what we're saying here is, how do we set this up? So number one, this setup can be housed on multiple different types of strategies. For instance, the first strategy is usually implemented on an IVR, right? And we talked a little bit about that. I spoke about like the integration waterfall on the IVR. So you're collecting data through the IVR. You're harnessing a system that has flexibility in being able to pinpoint different data points. For instance, some carriers want to be sent the zip code and phone number, and they want to bid off of those two items. Or maybe the affiliate network, right? Because we're talking about that side. Sometimes the affiliate network wants to bid off of zip code and how they got in a DUI within the past three years, right? So having that flexibility to take customized data sets for the points of being able to bid on, right? So implementing that through the IVR. Okay. The second flow is where you're just simply pre-pinging a phone number to the affiliate network, right? So the consumer's still in the IVR. You already read on the caller ID or the ONI, the phone number. You're already pre-pinging that to all the affiliate networks, and just based off of the phone number, they're bidding, right? And there's a rhyme or reason for that. Area codes represent regions, and regions represent propensities to sell a lead for higher or lower. The third one is, where you're traditionally through like, a web lead side, in conjunction with the call lead side, because we have both in our system, you're already you're already pre-pinging all of the buyers on the tree. It could be the affiliate network, and you're transferring to that affiliate network to do like a pre-qualification, more of like that warm transfer. And then when you're submitting that call again to be transferred with those other data sets that you've collected organically through a phone call, being able to bid on it that way. The fourth way is a direct call to the agent, right? Being able to third-party ping info that's based off of data append, which is, kind of coincides with step number one that we talked about, like that integration waterfall. Being able to, identify a credit profile, or identify through a data append, do they own two homes? What's their disposable income? What's their household income? Do they own, two cars or one car? Do they have three children, right? Because all of these things could be a reason why someone bids higher, because they know that when they sell this lead with these nuanced data sets, a company that's a carrier that offers multiple different lines of insurance can actually cross-sell to, right? Cross-sell to the life insurance, cross-sell to the home insurance, all the while, giving them an auto insurance policy. The last one is really, it's not really the direct, it's not really the affiliate network. It's really being able to connect point A, where you're point B, to the point C, and the point C is the call center, where you're actually pinging a PBX, a soft phone system that's being stretched across multiple different call centers that are owned and operated by a carrier, to understand agent availability. And based off of how many agents are available to take that call, they'll want to send a certain price. Because, for instance, if you have a call center inundated with calls, maybe they only want to bid, $8. But, if it's, 1 p.m. in the day and they've understood that, they have like, 12 agents available and the volume's really low that day, maybe they're just going to break the bank and start spending $55 per lead to just get that influx of volume. So, I do know I kind of answered that question. I did have to bring in the carrier side as well. But, affiliate networks really care about their demand side of their business. So, I think that's the reason why Ping Post 2.0 is such a solid, thoughtful type of technology to leverage in order to, satisfy all your buyers, satisfy your publishers, and getting the highest EPL possible so that they'll keep on giving you the leads. All the while, based off of the rev share, increasing your revenue as the affiliate network.
That's awesome. And I think one of the most exciting things about this is I think for anyone like me who's not from this world, like you can tell how insanely complicated the moving systems in. Like there's so many things involved in this. But on the other hand, because so much of this is starting to be automated away and just handled through clear rules, that means you only need to be good at 95% of things. You just need to be good at one thing where you're either you have to have just one specialty. You either have to be really good at driving traffic or have really good relationships with the end carriers, or have some special relationship in the middle. But you don't have to be good at everything. You just have to do one piece and then connect to the ecosystem where all of this bidding and everything is doing the other pieces, and then you can start making money and then scale up a team from there to start solving bigger and bigger problems. So
yep,
I think that's
agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more. I think that also, really does, prop up the reasons why Everflow and Phonexa are, fusing a strong partnership together, because, I know both of us, on either side of the lead generation equation, none of us want to be, jack of all trades and master of none, right? So, that's the reason why we lean on you guys a lot for, specific client leads and vice versa. So I couldn't agree with you more.
awesome. And just for a feel of things, like from your side, when you're seeing insurance leads, how much of it is like pay per call or like is the call versus the like website lead, or is there a couple different types of leads, and what is sort of that breakdown between the different types of leads?
Oh, I feel so bad. Amanda's been on mute because I've been talking so much. Please unmute yourself,
You're
Amanda.
fine. No, I was
I'll
going to
mute
say
myself.
I honestly see it's a good hybrid of both. Honestly, I think there's a lot of web form fills because especially in this day and age, we've all been stuck at home for 2 years, pretty much. So everyone's on their phones, filling out different things, looking at different opportunities in terms of like diversifying, what their insurance, might look like, right? Like I can go ahead and now take the time to actually find a lower rate, whatever it might be. So I think the form fills are a big piece of it, but also the pay-per call side is a big thing, just adding those dynamic phone numbers to websites, making them look like they're more local, having people call in directly and transferring those to the agents, and then utilizing the automated process through platforms to really like facilitate, those connections, right? Like, so at the end of the day, I think it's a good balance of both. I would say I see a lot more calls being generated in that space now than there were before, where it was much more form fill, at least from my experience. But I do see the calls being a bigger piece of it now because people do want to talk directly to a human being at the end of the day. And then with the utilization of a technology piece, we can go ahead and present that information to the agent so they already know who they're talking to when they get on the phone. You've already bypassed 15 minutes of a conversation, and you can really get down to what they're looking to do, immediately. So I think the calls are becoming a much more predominant piece of the business. And I see a lot more of our customers and people in the space moving into the pay-per-call space.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So, it goes back to the evolution of technology, right? So, predominantly, a couple of years ago, and even now, there is a heavy weight on web leads, right? Because when you're collecting more data, there's more, decisioning logic that you can, invoke, right? However, with statistics coming out, like 82% of all, auto insurance buyers utilize a mobile phone to conduct their business and get their policy. To other statistics like, 1 out of 4 insurance policies are solidified over the phone, right? I do see, based off of how technology is advancing on the telephony side, and the statistics that are indigenous to the insurance world, it is shifting more towards the call space. And, a good indicator to that is, a lot of our clients that are affiliate networks, they're really leveraging a Ping Post 2.0 on the call side, and they're spending more on the call side. But, going back to it, that like 82% of everybody's on a mobile phone, that doesn't mean I'm not filling out a form just on my phone, right? So, that coincides with, you want to have a good mobile developer that, there's a nice user interface to your website as it relates to like, mobile capacity. So, there's a lot of click tracking as well, because, any company needs to leverage click tracking to get that volume, to get that brand affinity reach, and then identify, the attribution side to it, like who's filling out the forms that visited my website, and get some website analytics. I've seen a lot in email marketing. A lot of our clients that are doing email marketing through Phonexa are leveraging that as a cross sell, usually because they're doing a home, but they're also doing car insurance, right? So I think it's a mixed bag. I think everyone needs to be diversified. Everyone needs to leverage technology that is diversified and gives you that capabilities that you can stretch across your entire enterprise seamlessly. But I do see a shift happening where it's really going to go more towards the call side. And I think down the road, it's leveraging a ping post 2.0 from the call side, and then interweaving, some conversations that I know Amanda loves to have is, interweaving more AI, right? We're also introducing some AI components to our ping tree, where we're designating it as the term smart tree. So, I do think, the more conversational intelligence that we can apply to the call side, the more intent, biometric profiles that we can create on consumers based off of, those types of capabilities, which are AI. The more we can do that, the more robust you can get and targeted you can get with your marketing efforts.
Agreed. 100%. Diversification and utilization of new technology is going to be key for anybody at this point moving forward. I think in this
Great time to be at Phonexa and Everflow.
Exactly.
It's definitely one of those funny things too, because it's what's old is new again.
Mm-hmm.
So much of stuff, like these things have had their like ups and downs, where for a while calls were starting to be used less and less and less.
Exactly.
But now technology has made them easier again. It's a whole lot less painful. There's a lot more customer service agents now at a lot of these companies. Like they've started to staff up again. And it's funny that it's just like all these things, like anytime they're down, they'll be back up again. And when they're up, the people will get lazy and stop doing them properly, and then they'll go down again, and then someone will bring new technology and solve new problems, and then it's exciting again.
Exactly.
Yeah, like Amanda, out of all your entire network and all the clients that you've helped along your career, how many do you think are starting to have these conversations again of, okay, I think I want to own and operate my own call center again?
Right. And not just finding independent agents to take calls where they might have like the one-off people. It's actually like wanting to open up their own call centers. So having, multiple seats. So it's like 5 to 10, maybe even 50 agents that can take the leads that they're generating. They understand that diversification is going to be what they need to do to stay competitive in this space. So web leads are great. Pingtree is great. You can really utilize those to the best of your ability. But like you said, pay per call has always ebbed and flowed in the industry, and it's come back with a vengeance, especially in the capacity that people are utilizing identity graphs and AI and all that stuff in conjunction with that. So you can really, whereas it used to just be push one for this and push two for that, now we can actually do real-time lookups based on those IVRs. So like you said, the evolution of the technology is making it easier to kind of come back into the pay per call space. And so the hybrid model is really what it's become at this point. But like I said, I can't tell you how many people now are looking to open up their own call centers. That is like kind of the name of the game right now, is being able to really like have people that can take those calls directly. I think because they realize that they can monetize that at a greater capacity.
Yep. I mean, there's definitely a rhyme or reason, a very strong strategy of why Phonexa does what we do. And it comes from top down, right? It's great to be working with a CEO and a president that are innovative and forward thinking. So, it's funny, we started building out our own PBX, like, I would say about a year and a half ago. And just now, that need is coming to fruition. So, it's really great for Amanda and I to be out in the open, at these conferences, on these Zoom calls, being able to have these conversations and leverage, the full technology suite to accomplish exactly what clients are looking to accomplish.
Awesome. I'm sure we could explore this for another hour just on that last topic alone, but it is very fascinating, and it just shows that even if you try stuff and it doesn't work, that doesn't mean you should discount it forever, because I'm sure that we have a lot of clients who have done insurance in the past, and then that slowed down, and maybe it's time for them to start back up because, I mean, if nothing else, it's like the ability to do data decisioning and fight fraud really changes how much you can sell stuff for. So I think the future is bright. Okay, if people want to learn more about Phonexa or yourselves, how can they easiest find you?
Yeah, so going to our website, www.phonexa.com. We have a lot of different blogs. We have a lot of different content. I do, would love everyone to go to www.com. I'm sorry, www.phonexa.com/call logic and go down to the bottom to get our e-booklet on Ping Post 2.0, just so you can read through and see what the trends are in your space, how to leverage technology to increase conversion, decrease marketing spend, all through technology. If I had at the end of this webinar anywhere where I would want somebody to go, it would be our call logic side of Phonexa.com to review our Ping Post 2.0 booklet.
Awesome. And Amanda?
I'm always around, but the best way to get me, aside from directly emailing me or just giving me a call, which I think my information is pretty much everywhere at this point, it's just Amanda@phonexa.com, but I live on LinkedIn. I pretty much do a vast majority of my networking on there as well. So I usually get 50 to 100 emails a day, and I check all of them regularly and hourly. So that's a really good way to get in touch with me. And again, you can also get our information off of LinkedIn, which is great because it automatically directs to Phonexa.com, to all the white papers, all of those types of things. So really any way is good, but LinkedIn is always a good way to get a hold of me.
Yep. And we have a lot of following on Instagram, on LinkedIn, Facebook, it's at, Phonexa Calls. So we're a fun group as well, as much as, hope we didn't bore you with all the technology conversations. We like to play hard, but work hard as well. So, if you want to see that side of the company, definitely implore you to go there as well.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for your time. This is fantastic and really helped understand sort of this ecosystem and where any of us could be making money there. All right. Thank you so much again, and have a wonderful holidays.
Thanks, Mike.
Michael. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.